is Histories and Mysteries. I'm your host, Ashley, and your other host is
Jessica, and on today's episode, Ashley is going to be talking about Lori and Chad Daybell, who I don't know anything about, so this will be interesting. And I am doing the Hammersmith ghost. It's also
Ooh.
a true crime case, so it's very interesting.
Oh, I'm excited. We haven't done a paranormal on here in a minute.
I know, it's been a while. I don't know.
Move myself.
When was our last one?
It's a great question. Let me see. I guess I talked a little bit last episode in Madame LaLaurie's, but
Yeah,
I don't know. Reincarnation. I guess that would be our last one. That was episode 25.
Or Alcatraz? When was that?
One? I think Alcatraz was before that.
Okay.
Anyway, it's been a hot minute.
A hot minute.
Well, I decided to take a note out of your book from last week, except instead of drinking wine, I'm being a super basic bitch and drinking White Claw.
Oh, nice. I
White
am
Claw.
drinking wine out of my ATWWD glass again.
Cute.
See that?
Maybe one day
trying.
we'll have merchandise and we'll have wine glasses.
Oh, that would be the dream.
Oh,
The
happy
dream.
St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yes. And I also wanted to say happy 1 year of COVID.
That's the worst anniversary ever. Oh, God.
As I take a big sip of my wine as I say it.
I saw some things that I posted. You know, they come up in like your Facebook memories or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was some stuff from last year in March about like the pandemic and COVID and how nothing makes sense anymore. And I was like, oh, how young and naive I was.
That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Your friend Amanda, she sent me a message today asking if she could add me as a friend. She was so sweet.
Oh, she is really sweet. She was always really nice
so
too.
Sweet.
When I worked there, like the place I worked with her was kind of cliquey.
Yeah.
And she was always really nice and like didn't really like everybody liked her, so she was always like included in the cliquey, but she wasn't like part of the cliquey. You know what I mean?
Oh, good.
Yeah, she was really
Yeah,
sweet.
she seems very, very sweet. So it was so nice to hear from her today.
She's gonna be so excited that we called her out again.
I know. It's so wonderful. Oh, I also need to call out my mom because apparently I haven't called her out in a hot minute.
Oh.
She called. I was talking to her the other day. She's like, "Where's my call out?" Like, Ma, I've called you out so many times on this on this podcast.
What's her name?
She Linda.
Linda. Thanks, Linda, for listening. We appreciate it.
Yes. She also sent us a message to our website. So she said, "Perfect entertainment for my bath nights. Girls, I'm your biggest fan. I hope you are a success."
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, she's so sweet. She's
I don't think my mom
mama.
Listens. Thanks, Mom. She doesn't really listen to podcasts, though. I don't even really think she knows how to work the podcast app on her phone, to be honest. Except she's the most tech savvy of her friends, which is scary.
Aw. Well, I just found out a few weeks ago that a couple of my aunts and uncles listen. So thank you if you listen. I appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't think they listened, and then my mom told me that they did. And it's like, oh, that's so sweet.
That's really nice.
It's so nice. So I appreciate it. And I'm on our like podcast thing, and we have so many different countries that are listening. It's so cool.
Ooh, that is exciting.
Yeah, there's Latvia, Poland, Italy, Indonesia, Turkey, Finland. We have Ireland.
Ooh, happy day of your
St.
people.
Pat's Day. Did you know that he was born in England? St. Patrick.
Oh,
yeah.
I know nothing about like the history of. Maybe we should have done that. Oh well.
Oh, what a great idea.
So, and I was going to say, I'm very excited. So Jessica and I decided we're going to do a Canadian episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting all my Canadian jokes ready.
Yeah, so we're going to, Ashley's going to do, like my friend Robin suggested last week through our website, that we do Robert Pickton. Mm-hmm. So Ashley's going to cover him. And then I'm going to cover Paul Bernardo because apparently she's never heard of him, which seems weird to me, but like he's just like one of the more famous Canadian serial killers. So, like I figured that you would have heard about him or know about him, right? Like,
is he the pig farmer or is the one I'm doing the pig farmer?
The one you're doing is the pig farmer.
Okay.
But he's the Scarborough rapist. I don't know if that registers anything, but him and his wife were in on some stuff, so.
Oh.
Yeah, but I'm very fascinated that you've never heard of him, so I'm excited to tell you his tale.
Yeah, me too.
His horrible tale.
Apparently America has enough to keep me occupied that
Yeah. Yeah, that works.
We have a lot of serial killers.
You really do, and I'm glad that we don't have very many notable ones, but the ones that we do have are pretty terrible, so I am not a fan.
Apparently in America we just breed psychos. I don't know.
I'm just glad that this week it's not as bad. Well, I don't know your story, but
so mine's wild, as you like to say.
Perfect.
But it does involve 2 children that died. But it's not like gruesome.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, mine's funny but not funny, I guess. Like, I don't know. It's interesting to say the least. It's like, oh, all right, we ended up here today. Perfect.
Yeah. At least it's not like last week. Last week was real bad, Jessica.
Last week was terrible. Oh my goodness. I can't even get over last week. I'm making our blog post for it right now because I multitask and I forgot to do it this week. And I'm uploading his picture right now, so it's like, wonderful. Not a fan.
Yeah, he's creepy looking too.
Yeah, it's not enjoyable to me at all.
Well, should we get into our stories?
Yeah.
So mine basically all comes from a 2020 show. I've been watching 2020 lately, and they have so many good murder cases. I mean, not
good.
like
not
murder
good,
cases, but true crime people, you get what I'm saying.
Exactly, yes.
This one was called The Grave Digger's Wife.
Ooh.
There's literally nothing to do with grave digging in it. I don't know why. I mean, like, one of the husband's jobs was as a grave digger, and that's it. I think they just wanted a cool name for the episode.
Would you want to do, like, would that be a job that would interest you, or?
Grave digging? No, that seems like a lot of work.
Well, probably, yeah. But
I mean, I think like a coroner or like a medical examiner would be really cool.
So cool.
But not a grave digger. That's too much physical labor for me.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But the other ones would be really cool if you didn't have to be like a doctor. Like you have to go to med school to be a medical examiner. And then I think a coroner is like voted in like a sheriff or whatever.
Oh.
But I think you also have to have
very fascinating.
Yeah. I think I could be talking on my ass, but I'm pretty sure because I was listening to a podcast one time about a girl whose mom was a coroner and then she became a coroner. And I think that's what they said, but
cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so The Grave Digger's Wife.
Perfect.
All right, so November 5th, 2019.
Like 2 years ago?
Yeah, this is like they haven't even finished up the court case yet.
Well, frick, Ashley, I wanted a closeout story.
A good, like, closed up story. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, bitch. Jeez.
Well, this one was like... I just, like, glossed over that. It, like, took me a second to hear that. This one was all over the news. I remember hearing about it, about the 2 missing children. It was crazy. It was everywhere. So, but I never really looked more into it until I watched this episode, and it's like, oh, I remember hearing about that. So,
Perfect.
All right, so November 9th, 2019, Lori and Chad were married in Kauai, Hawaii, a beautiful, picturesque wedding on the beach filled with love and smiles. The wedding was attended by only the bride and groom, but it was perfect. The pictures were gorgeous. They had like the purple, what are I don't know, the flowers that you typically think of for Hawaii.
I was gonna say the leis, but
like what they're made of, those flowers. Anyway, so they had a bunch of those purple ones. She had a white dress. He was wearing like an all white, like kind of suit, but like casual for the beach. It was a really beautiful wedding. But two things were notably missing. Lori's children, 7-year-old JJ and 16-year-old Tylee. And her name is Tylee, Tyle.
I don't like where this is going.
Yeah. And the problem is no one knows where they are. They've been missing since September. And there was a nationwide, I guess I should do that in past tense. I was talking present, but it's okay. The problem is no one knew where they were. They had been missing since September. There was a nationwide search and investigation happening all while Lori and Chad were having their beautiful, picturesque wedding.
Okay, sorry. Were they just Lori's children or were they Chad's as well?
Just Lori's.
Okay.
Yeah, they weren't Chad's. When Lori is asked by police and press where her children are, she never answers. And actually, in one video, you can see her running away from the press. Like, Lori, because this became a nationwide search, so everybody was talking to her like, "Where are your kids?" And like, she would never answer. So I think we can all see where this is going.
I thought you didn't involve the death of 2 children, Ashley.
What?
You said your story didn't involve the death of 2 children.
No, I said they do die. I was trying to give you a heads up.
Oh. Well, I don't know. We were comparing Albert Fish, and I thought you said it didn't involve 2 children. So.
Oh, well, that was when I was going to do a different story. Sorry. Which I'm still going to do that one. I was going to do the Danver, I think it's called Danver Insane Asylum, which is really cool. It's like the first asylum that did lobotomies. So I'm going to do that one eventually.
Cool. Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about Lori. Lori was described as beautiful, kind, social, athletic. She was a softball player, and then she was also a cheerleader in high school. So you're kind of getting the picture. She was blonde, really pretty. You know, basically me. And
it's true. You're so pretty.
Oh, thanks.
I know that sounded sarcastic, but it wasn't meant to be.
Oh gosh, it made me think about this because I was watching another documentary and the main girl had died in this other one, and so they were talking about like what she was like and how she was such a good mom, and you know, above all, she loved her children, and you know, the typical, you know, she lit up a room and da-da-da. And it got me thinking, if I died, what would people say about me in my documentary?
Yeah. Okay, was this guy rich?
I think he was pretty well off.
Okay, because they don't look like they belong together.
Oh, well, let me tell you about him. You'll figure out what's going on.
Okay. Because I was looking at their wedding pictures, and I don't...
Yeah, there's a reason why she married him. Okay. It wasn't for money either. And she's also said to be a wonderful mother who really loves her kids and would do anything for them. And the time of this documentary, they did an interview with her mom, her niece, and her sister. And the documentary was done, or the interview with these 3 people, her family members, was done like at the very beginning of this case. So prior to them really knowing anything. And they were all saying how she could never do anything to her children. Like, that wasn't her. She was such a good person, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, pause for a second.
Yes.
Did you get a nose ring?
I've always had one.
Okay.
Yeah,
this is like my first time noticing it. But in my defense, it's a very tiny stud.
Yeah, it is a very
and you have like a high contrast on your nose, so it's very hard to see it because of the lighting. Not because your nose is a weird contrast, but like, you're in a dark sound box and then your room is white or something.
So. Yeah, that is what it is. Yeah, I got it when I was in college. I love it. I'm 34 and I'm like, when should I take it? Like, when am I too old for it? But I freaking love it.
I miss my nose ring. I had to take it out for a job, like a coffee job that I had. Because they didn't like they said I could have a stud, but I didn't like the stud and it kept falling out of my nose. So I just went without it and I miss my hoop.
I had a hoop for a really long time and then it fell out and I couldn't get the damn thing back in and I got frustrated, so I just put the stud back in.
Yeah, I was never good with like putting mine in or taking it out, so I just left it in forever.
It's so hard.
It's so hard and it hurts.
Yeah.
So, but I really miss it and I really want to get it back again. But then I'm like, but I have a baby that likes to grab at my hair and rip it. So I can only imagine what she would do to my nose ring.
Yeah, I get a little finger in there. Ooh, that would hurt.
Yeah, and she likes to just like randomly fling her hand into my face. So
yeah, Oliver likes to do that too. I've definitely been punched in the face a couple times.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine how that would feel with a healing nose ring. So
yeah, I was listening to another podcast, True Crime. No, not that one. Although that's a good one. Let's Go to Court, and one of the girls on there, she's 35 and she has a lip piercing, and so she was talking about the same thing. Like, is she too old to have it? But she really likes it, and I was like, whatevs. We can have what we want.
Exactly. You gotta do what you gotta do.
But I love it, and like, I think technically I'm not supposed to have it at work, but nobody's ever said anything, so. Okay, so in 1992, Lori married her first husband, who was her high school sweetheart. Her mother said that they didn't like him and they didn't want her to marry him, and so they didn't go to the wedding. So that's nice.
Nice.
And they ended up divorcing. And of note, Lori and her family are Mormon, so they're all very, very, very close. Mormons are very family oriented. They're very close. So I think it was probably a really big deal that they didn't go to her wedding, but she went through with it anyway. And like I said, they ended up getting divorced. And in 1995, Lori married again, and with this one, she fathered her first child, Colby. I can't talk today.
The alcohol.
I've only had half a White Claw.
Oh my goodness.
And Lori's mom didn't like this one either. So Lori's 0 for 2 now with her mother. But she did have, like I said, her first son, Colby, with him. And then Colby is never talked about again. I have no idea what happened to him.
Oh, he's not part of this case?
No. No idea what happened to him.
All right.
I'm assuming he probably lived with his dad, because in all the other things they don't ever talk about him or like him being around or anything like that. So I'm assuming he lives with his dad, which
all right.
Thank God for him.
Mm-hmm.
So she divorced that one as well. She marries the third time to a man named Joseph in 2001, and they had Tylee. So Tylee was one of the two that are missing. Joseph was extroverted like Lori, and everyone seemed to like them together. They said they were a perfect match. They were fun. They said magnetic.
Magnetic?
No, not magnetic.
What are you trying to say?
Magmatic, right? That's a word. Magmatic. Google. Magmatic.
Please leave this in.
Yeah, magmatic, which is like magnetism. Like they're... No, that's lava.
They were like lava, hot and heavy.
What is the word I'm looking for? Magmatic. Hold on. Magnetic? Magnetic?
I'm glad I'm not the only one struggling with words.
Maybe it is magnetic. Whatever. They had a great personality together.
Sweet.
Yeah, so people really liked them. And actually, Lori's on Wheel of Fortune at this time, so you can see her episode. And she talks about how her marriage is very happy and very lovely and all this good stuff. Well, behind the scenes, it turns out that Joseph was actually physically abusive to the kids.
Oh, that's not great.
No. And at this time, Lori also enters a Texas beauty pageant. So you can tell she has a lot of confidence in herself. And they said at one point that she thought it would help their marriage. I'm not really sure how a beauty pageant helps your marriage, but
I don't know. She
but
was
I
pretty,
bring it
though.
up because she has a pretty creepy quote from it. One of the questions in the pageant was like, what makes you tick? And she said, being a good mom is important to me, a good wife and a good worker, and being all of those things isn't easy. So I'm basically a ticking time bomb. Dun dun dun, foreshadow.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, her husband was physically abusive, allegedly, but these claims were never substantiated. There was a custody battle and it went on for several years. And at this point, in stepped Lori's brother, Alex. And Alex is going to be a big player in this story. He was very protective of his niece and nephew, and apparently even got into a fight with Joseph in a local parking lot and tased Joseph in the heart.
Tased him?
Tased him, yeah.
Oh.
So Alex went to prison for aggravated assault. So while he's in prison, in 2006, Lori gets married yet again, because obviously she divorced the last one, to Charles, and they get married in Las Vegas, and her mom actually liked this one. Yay!
Okay, this girl marries a lot.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I wrote in here. It seems like she's like searching for something because she keeps getting remarried.
Or she just doesn't like being alone.
Yeah, that's true. Which, who likes being alone? Nobody.
Nobody.
So
Nobody. Sorry, it's from a commercial here. So.
Okay. Well, the Canadians will get it. Oh God, I'm having a hot flash. Do you get hot flashes?
Yeah, when I drink wine, yes.
Oh,
I'm
I've
very
been getting
hot
them
right now.
I've been getting them ever since I gave birth to Oliver. I get random hot flashes.
Oh, I just get them when I sleep. It's just the hormones.
I get them
It's
all the time.
normal.
It's great. Okay, so everyone seemed to like Charles and how he treated Lori and her kids. He treated them like they were his own. And they decided to pack up and move to Arizona.
Ooh.
So at this point, Alex was out of jail, and him and Charles actually became really close friends.
Who? Oh, the brother-in-law and the new husband. Okay.
The brother and the new husband, yeah. Well, his brother-in-law, yeah. And in this time, Charles and Lori adopted a little boy named JJ, and he was Charles's cousin.
Okay.
Got
it.
But this marriage seemed to be the one. They were happy together, and Charles even converted to Lori's religion, which was, again, Mormonism.
Okay.
And it lasted for 14 years.
Wow.
Until Lori started getting into these books by Chad Daybell.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Chad was like a doomsday person. He believed that the world was ending soon. He talked a lot about the Book of Revelations. He was a former, I think still kind of Mormon, but he was kind of really getting out on his own with his own views. And according to one of Lori's friends, Lori kind of became a super fan of Chad's. So much so that Charles thought Lori might be cheating on him with Chad.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know if she had contact with him at that point or if Charles was just kind of, I don't know, paranoid. We're not sure. Lori's brother Alex also started subscribing to Chad's ideas. And actually, at one point, both of them went on a recruitment tour trying to recruit other people to listen to Chad. Jessica, what does this sound like?
A cult.
Yeah. And I think it would have been had they not done what they did. So according to Revelations, they believe that there will be 144,000 people who will be there during the second coming of Jesus. And they believed that Lori and Chad were going to be one of the 144,000, and they were kind of going to be the leaders of these 144,000.
Okay.
And that kind of leads into a little bit later when Lori and Chad meet up and they believe that they're going to be. But I just want to give you that background. So,
Cult. Got it.
yes. So in January of 2019, Lori actually accused Charles of having an affair on her. And while he was away on a business trip, she canceled his return flight, went to the airport, took his car where he had parked it and hid it, and threw away all of his clothes.
What?
Yeah.
What a little psychopath.
Yeah. So, had he really had an affair, I'd kind of be like, yeah, go you. But knowing what she is, I'm not. So after Charles gets back, he calls the police. Because out of all of that too, he also noticed that their bank accounts were drained. And he had a specific business bank account that was drained. So at this point, he got the police involved. And he told the police that she had lost her mind. He claimed that Lori said, "I don't know who you are, but you're not Charles, and I can murder you with my powers."
What? Okay.
Yeah. And the police, and you can see the video of this because they had the body cam. And so the police were like, "Well, has she gone to the doctor? Like, is she on medication?" He's like, "No, she doesn't believe in medication." And he said, "She won't go to the doctor because she thinks she is a translated being and cannot die."
Reminds me of Heaven's Gate.
Yes, yes. Her friend said that Lori had also said to her that she was a being who had lived on many worlds, and she almost saw herself as a deity of sorts. So Charles actually gets a court order to have Lori committed for a psych eval, but she was released a few hours later. So whatever she believed in, she didn't let them get any whiff of it. So he said that Lori had said to him that he was in the way and she was going to kill him, and that she had an angel that would take care of his body afterwards. So Charles, after that point, got an attorney and told the attorney that if anything happens to me, it is Lori. Lori did this.
This reminds me of like one of your other stories that you did where like it was the female that said like to somebody like if something happens to me, my husband did it. Like she ended up in like the Crystal Caves or something. Or
Susan Cox, which
yes.
Oddly enough, this family's last name is Cox. Like her main name is Cox. And they're all Mormons. So I wonder if there's a relation there. I don't know.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, Alex starts to turn against Charles as well. And on one occasion, Charles goes to Lori's house to pick up their son JJ and take him to school. Alex was supposed to be there to make sure the handoff went smoothly as well because they were in the middle of a divorce during this point. Cut to a 911 call where Alex says, "I shot my brother-in-law."
What?
Yeah, so Alex claimed that Charles had a baseball bat and was coming at him with it. So he said that he had to shoot him. And he shot him in the chest twice. And the creepiest part is you can hear the 911 call and he is so calm during it. He's not panicking at all like someone would after someone came at them with a bat and they shot them.
Ew.
And the 911 operator was telling Alex how to do CPR. She's like, "You need to do CPR on him. This is how you do it." And you can hear some heavy breathing on the other line, like he's doing CPR. But then when the police show up, he has no blood on him whatsoever. And if you're doing CPR on someone who just got shot in the chest twice, you're going to have blood on you.
Yeah.
And he had
like
no blood.
Somewhere on you.
Yes, somewhere. And he was calm as can be. He sat on the curb while the police were kind of like investigating things and joked with them about the weather and all this kind of stuff. He said that Charles had hit him on the head with a baseball bat, but he only had like an itty bitty cut on the back of his head. And Charles's dad said that Charles played baseball and he was a very fit man. So like if he hit him in the back of the head with a baseball bat, it would be more than like a bitty cut.
Yeah.
So that's another suspicious thing. Alex declined the paramedics' help, even though he claimed he got hit in the head with a baseball bat. Another weird thing is that when police search the house, they see that Lori and the kids are gone. So Alex said it had only been 5 minutes since the shooting. So that would mean that Lori and the kids left like immediately. Like, oh, you shot my ex-husband. Okay, bye.
Yeah, no. Oh, it's weird.
Yeah, and apparently Lori had taken JJ to school, and on the way they stopped at Burger King, so she was not worried.
Okay.
When she got back, Lori and Tylee were super calm. Lori even joked like, "Hi neighbors, sorry, ha ha ha," and was like laughing and everything. Like it was bizarre. But at the police station, all three say it was self-defense. They don't have any other evidence at this time. So
did he die?
They were free to go. Yep, he died. Charles died.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shit.
They said that Charles had left his phone on the counter, went out to leave, realized he left it on the counter, came back in. Lori had grabbed his phone to give it to him, and apparently he went like ballistic. And that's when he like charged them with a bat and all this kind of stuff. But they're like, his loved one said that he'd never gotten mad like that before. So why all of a sudden would he over a phone? Like that didn't make sense. They said the investigator said that driving her home after the interview was so weird because she just had this big smile on her face and was like joking around and talking like not someone whose ex-husband just died in front of her.
Ew.
Yeah. By the way, Charles had $1 million life insurance policy on him. And Lori was the beneficiary. But when Charles started getting suspicious of her, he changed the beneficiary to his sister, but Lori did not know that yet.
Perfect. I mean, unfortunate for Charles because that's more than likely why he died, but good on him for screwing her over.
Exactly. So Lori didn't get the money, and she was also asked to move out by her landlord after that.
What a loser.
Right. So at this point, Lori decides to move to Idaho, where Chad Daybell, that author she was obsessed with, lived. But wait, at this time, Chad was married to a lady named Tammy.
Of course he was.
Yeah. And they seemed to have a happy marriage before Lori got there. Chad had established a life there. He was a gravedigger, so that's where the gravedigger came in that they were very excited about. And they kind of said that he really surrounded himself with death. Like he was very obsessed with death. Being the gravedigger, all of his books were kind of about revelations in death. His preaching was about death and the second coming, and he was just very obsessed with it.
Oh, I'm a gravedigger because I married someone that's older. So you know how they're like, you know, robbing the cradle, like cradle robber, and I'm a gravedigger. Because he's old.
Oh gosh.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, anyways.
So he was at this point starting to preach outside of the Mormon church and was also recruiting people to move to Idaho to listen to his preaching. So
he
was starting a mini cult.
I haven't watched it yet, but like there's the Netflix show like Murder Among the Mormons.
Oh, I haven't watched that yet either.
I was just gonna ask if it had anything to do with them.
I don't think so. Well, I did watch the first episode, but I thought it was kind of boring. I'm gonna try and keep watching it. But the first episode was about like these papers that the Mormons had that were like historical artifacts, and that's what some guy got murdered over. So I'm not really sure if it has anything like if
I know like one of the first Mormons died over the Bible that he said was the Bible, but he didn't have proof of the Bible.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just going based off of Book of Mormon, like the musical.
The musical.
So
I haven't seen that. Is it good?
I haven't seen it, but I've listened to it, and it's really funny. It was like Josh Gad was in it originally.
I love him.
Yeah, he was great. So it's really funny. I think it was written by the South Park writers.
Oh, gotcha.
Like those
that
guys.
Makes sense.
So it was very interesting. But anyways, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting really off topic.
Oh, no, you're fine. All right, so once moving to Idaho, on September 8th, 2019, just 7 days after they got there, Lori, her kids, and Alex take a trip to Yellowstone National Park. There's a
As you
picture
do.
of them there having fun. But after that, no one ever saw the kids again.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask because it's like, oh, they took them to Yellowstone, such a big national park.
There's lots of places.
Yep.
So at first I thought they were gonna say that their bodies were there, but spoiler alert, they're not. Anyway, so they included this in the documentary, so I included it in here. It has nothing to do with the case that we're talking about, but it's kind of interesting. So during this time down in Arizona, someone shot at a vehicle owned by Brandon, Brandon, I can't say his last name, so I'm not going to try, but he was married to Lori's niece. And the car used to, it was kind of like a drive-by shooting, and the car that was used was Charles's car.
Okay, who did a drive-by shooting?
Well, we don't know yet.
Okay, so, but where did this drive-by shooting happen? Who was involved? I'm confused.
Sorry. So it happened in Arizona, and it was this person who was driving Charles's Jeep. Charles is the one that died, that Alex killed. Shot at Brandon, who was married to Lori's niece.
Okay, random. Okay.
Yes. And Brandon thought he recognized Alex, Lori's brother, as the shooter. Brandon had $1 million life insurance policy out on him. And his beneficiary was his wife, who was also Lori and Alex's niece.
Okay.
Did you follow that? It was kind of crazy, but...
Yes, I follow that, but I don't understand why they would kill him if the beneficiary wasn't one of them.
She was. It was Lori and Alex's niece.
Yes, but it wasn't Lori or Alex.
Well, so people are saying that Alex is kind of like the hitman for the family.
Oh, all right. All right, so, that makes more sense.
Yeah, so this has nothing to do with that, but just interesting.
Okay.
So on October 9th, 2019, Chad's wife, Tammy, posts on Facebook that a man in a black mask was standing behind a car when she was getting stuff out of her trunk and had a paintball gun. She said he pulled the trigger several times, but the gun wasn't loaded. 10 days later, Tammy passed away due to natural causes. I'm using air quotes here, people. Even though she was training for a marathon. And Chad quickly declined an autopsy. He also received a $400,000 life insurance payout.
Okay. And a lot of people dying.
Yes. Fun fact, before Tammy died, Lori had bought a wedding ring that you can see her wearing at her and Chad's wedding.
Oh.
So she purchased the ring before Tammy was even dead.
Ew.
Yeah. So at this point, JJ and Tylee had not been seen in a while, and JJ's grandmother and grandfather were trying to find the kids, and they didn't know that they had moved to Idaho right away. They actually found out because Grandma had access to Charles's Amazon account, and Lori had bought that ring off of Charles's Amazon account and had it shipped to her address. So that's how the grandma found out where Lori was. So once she found that out, she called the police and said, hey, can you do a welfare check at this house? We've been missing these kids for eons.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how they found out. So they went to the home, and this is also very weird. At this point, Lori and Chad had already gotten married. Okay. And when the police got there, Chad acted like he didn't even know who Lori was.
What?
He acted like he barely knew who she was. Like, he was like, oh, I don't know her phone number. I don't know her last name. And like, even though the police knew that they were married.
That's super interesting. Weird. Okay.
Yeah. And they finally tracked down Alex as well. And Alex said that JJ was fine. He was with his grandparents in Louisiana. But the police were like, no, they were the ones who asked for this welfare check. So that doesn't make sense. They also found Lori, and Lori said that JJ was with her friend Melanie. And then apparently, right after the police left Lori's, Lori called Melanie and was like, hey, if the police call and ask, JJ is staying with you. And Melanie was like, no, and called the police to tell them that she asked her to lie.
Yuck.
So then Melanie actually had a really good idea and called Lori and recorded the conversation trying to get her to admit that she asked her to lie about having JJ. And Melanie said that she wanted to get police off her case because JJ was somewhere safe and she didn't want the grandmother to know where he was. So that's why she had to lie about it. And then Lori got mad at Melanie for even asking questions about it. So she was like gaslighting her hardcore.
Lovely. What a great family.
Exactly. So Lori and Chad, after these kind of police asking questions, decided to go back to Hawaii. They kind of like fled to Hawaii. And another weird point that really doesn't have to do with the story is at this point, Alex had a girlfriend and he decided to go get married in Vegas.
Oh.
No one knew. His mom didn't even know that he got married. And after they fled and they were, questioning and had all these weird answers and were lying to the police were like, you know what's kind of suspicious? Tammy's death. So they decided to exhume her body and kind of really check it out.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, I don't have any information for you because they have not yet released those details.
Ah, Ashley.
I know.
Oh, ruined my life.
I know. But shortly after they exhumed the body, there was a 911 call from Alex's wife's son saying that he found Alex unconscious in their bathroom and that he wasn't breathing.
Oh.
Her son had no idea that they were married and didn't even know Alex's last name. So the police came and Alex died at the age of 51, also of natural causes.
Uh-oh.
When they interviewed the family, they were so in denial. They just talked about how amazing Alex was and how he had a heart of gold and he would never lie and all this kind of stuff. They were in such denial in the interview. But Alex's wife did say that he was suffering from shortness of breath like the night before, and she told him to go to the hospital, but he was like, no, I'm fine. And then his mom didn't know that he was dead for like 7 days. And then she didn't even know that he had ever gotten married.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that weird? So again, that doesn't have anything to do with the case, but it just kind of shows that family and like how odd it is. Okay, so at this point, the police say that the children are missing and endangered. And this like titling of it is what caused the case to go national. So now it's all over the national news. The media is constantly running up to Lori and Chad in Hawaii while they're like walking around doing their day-to-day stuff, saying, where are your kids? Are they safe? Where are they? And again, Lori and Chad would never answer questions. The only thing they would say is no comment. They had a video of Lori running to her car. They would walk away. They would never just say, yeah, the kids are safe, or, here where the kids are. And on January 25th, 2020, the police told Lori that she had to produce her children by this date. Like, I can't remember what the date was, but by this date, you have to produce your children. And she never did. And so on February 20th, 2020, 5 months since JJ was last seen, Lori was arrested and charged with 2 felony counts of desertion and non-support of dependent children. She was held on $5 million bond.
Wow.
While she's in jail, police are looking at Alex's phone because he had since passed away, so they had access to his phone. And they pulled in the FBI, and the FBI was able to see where his phone had made phone calls from. And he had apparently made several phone calls while he was at Chad's house, and they could even pinpoint that a few of the calls at like 3:30 in the morning were made from Chad's backyard. So the police were like, okay, well, that's weird. And they went to the backyard, they brought dogs, and they started digging, and they unfortunately found the bodies of both JJ and Tylee.
Oh, no.
On September 10th, Lori is arraigned in district court where she pleads not guilty to the 2 felony counts of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence. Because at this point, the other charges were dropped because they found the children. So she didn't desert them or anything like that. So, but she was charged with these new felonies. And then Chad was also charged after that. For the felony of destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence. And he is currently being held in the Fremont County Jail. Unfortunately, as of now, there are no murder charges because they can't really prove who did it. Was it Alex? Was it Lori? Was it Chad? There's no like evidence to how they were murdered or who did it or really when. I'm sure they can kind of get a time frame from the bodies, but as of now, the prosecutors have yet to charge anyone with the murder of JJ or Tylee.
Well, that's shitty.
Yeah, and that's my story.
All right, so I'm doing the Hammersmith ghost case. So I used the Library of Congress website, and it was an article by Kelly Buchanan. And then I also watched a BuzzFeed Unsolved video.
Ooh, are those good? I've been looking
They
at those,
are
but I haven't
good.
watched them.
They are. I find them very fascinating, like especially when they go into the houses and stuff, like the haunted places, and like
Cool.
it's fun because it's kind of like a visual podcast because there's 2 hosts kind of thing, and they banter back and forth, and it's really fun. So
nice.
Yeah. So okay. Let me start. Ouch. So Hammersmith was a small village just outside of London, England, and at the I had to clarify.
London, England.
It's not in
Just
my
in case.
notes. Well, it's not in my notes. And there's a London, Ontario, so I gotta clarify.
Okay.
So at the time, it was the boundary. Wow. Okay, let me start again. Hammersmith was a small village just outside of London, England, and at the time, it was the boundary divide between the countryside and the city.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it's like the suburbs, if you will.
Yes, exactly. The village wasn't just any village because it was said to be frightened by a ghost. Ooh. So in 1803, the villagers said that there was a ghost who was terrorizing travelers and sometimes even physically attacking them.
Oh no.
To make matters even more interesting, this ghost was covered in a white shroud. So it's kind of unknown if it was like a white blanket or even just like a white mist kind of thing. So
Gotcha.
yeah. As soon as the clock struck 1 a.m. at the church, the ghost was said to appear and flit among the fields.
Ooh, that sounds like a fun ghost.
Right? Just flutter, flutter, flutter,
Did
flutter.
you say what year this was and I missed it, or did you not say?
I did. I said 1803.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome.
I had to know what kind of ghost to picture.
An old-timey ghost. It was believed that the ghost was of a villager who had slit his own throat the year prior, and that his ghost came out of the graveyard at St. Paul's Church, which at the time was surrounded by fields and dirt roads.
Oh.
Yes.
I can hear my child crying through the door. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh. I know.
think Cody's giving him a bath.
I have some noise-canceling headphones on, so I'm thankfully not hearing mine, or she's just fine for once. We're going through
he's been real fussy today.
Yeah, like we're going through a time change. And also, I think sleep regression and a growth spurt at the same time.
Ooh,
so
yeah, Oliver's should be going through a leap right now. So he's been like eating constantly and fussy and
yeah, like Evie didn't sleep most of the morning, and then I finally got her to sleep in the afternoon, and then my dad decided to make a bunch of noise and then woke her up.
Oh no.
I swear he's louder when she's sleeping.
Like
And
he's
it's
just
like
got a sixth sense about it.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not that type of person that's like, oh, don't make noise while my baby's sleeping, but she was just getting to sleep. So it's like, don't make noise when she's just getting to sleep. Like, you can make all the noise you want while she's in her deep sleep. I don't care. But, like, don't do it while she's falling asleep. And I've been, like, trying to get her to sleep for hours. Like,
yeah.
Thank you. I hear him too.
Oh, my poor baby.
But yeah, anyway, so
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, she slept pretty good today. It was really funny. I finally got her to sleep, so she slept for like an hour and a half. She woke up for a little snack, and then she went back to sleep.
Aww.
It was so funny. But anyways, yeah, so she's been like nursing to sleep right now, so it's just like, oh my goodness.
Aww.
All right, my ghost. So, anyways, it was said to be of a guy that slit his own throat a year ago. Some accounts of this terrifying specter were as follows. So, a wagon was being pulled by 8 horses, and it was carrying 16 people. This ghost appeared and scared the driver of the wagon so much that he fled on foot, leaving the wagon with the horses and passengers at the scene.
Oh, jeez. Bye, bitches.
Yeah, it's like, peace. You don't need me. I don't need you.
Can you imagine the passengers like watching him run off? Like, excuse me.
Yeah,
because
like,
know back in that time, like they didn't like probably know how to do like what he was doing. They probably had it done for them.
Well, and it was nighttime. So they're like, if they're not from the area, they're like, what the fuck do I do? Like, what the fuck am I running from? Do I need to be running from this? Where do I even run to?
Yeah.
So it's like, shit, man.
Oh god.
So another guy at a different time of the month, I don't know. He was wandering around the graveyard when his throat was grabbed from behind. And then he turned around and punched into the air, and he hit what felt like a coat, but there was no solid mass behind the coat.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's like, he just turned around and went, hi-ya! And then hit the coat.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was that. Another adventure. Is Pinky in there?
Yeah, I can hear her.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one kind of contradicts where the villager said the ghost appears at 1 a.m., but I will include it nonetheless.
Okay.
So at around 10 o'clock at night, a pregnant woman was crossing near the church, and it said that she saw a tall white figure coming out of the tombstones.
Oh, God.
So this figure was said to grab her as she tried to run away, which made her faint. I know. So she was found unconscious hours later, and then they kind of woke her up, I guess, and they brought her home and put her into her bed. And then apparently she never woke up because she died of fright.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. She died of fright.
How did they know what she saw?
Well, I said she woke up, and then they brought her home.
Oh.
So she woke up at some point and regaled them of her story.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so she died. Sorry.
Was not expecting that.
Yeah, she died. And oh, this is really funny. My next point is, I'm unsure if she ever regained consciousness, but I'm assuming she did if the villagers were able to come up with this story. Or they came up with this story based on where they found her and were unsure of how she died.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Either she woke up and told them, or they made this story up because they found her in the graveyard.
Perfect.
So, it was later deemed by the villagers that this ghost was actually a person covered in a sheet intentionally trying to scare people, and it wasn't a supernatural being.
Oh, lame.
So, yeah. So, naturally, back in the 1800s, men with pistols decided that they were going to go out on patrol and search for this perpetrator in the white sheet and bring justice down upon them because, men with pistols, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it didn't turn out well.
It didn't, no. And honestly, this just reminds me of Beauty and the Beast.
Like with all the villagers are going to the beast's house.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm going to take matters into my own hands with my pitchforks and manly charms.
Yeah.
Anyways. So the problem with this was that there were so many ways in and out of the village that it was proved to be exceedingly difficult to cover every spot that someone could come and go from.
Okay.
So one of these men said he had almost caught this figure, who later removed the sheet or large tablecloth while fleeing the scene. So now in comes our good friend, or not so good friend, Thomas Millwood. This guy was involved in some events that provided the basis for legal principles of self-defense in the English courts.
Oh, geez.
So he did something weird, I guess. Okay, yeah. So on January 3rd, 1804, there's that date again for you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Thomas left his home late in the evening. When he left his home, he was dressed in bricklayer clothes. Okay. Okay. So I honestly have no idea why this dude would go out late in the evening to do bricklaying, but I guess you do you, boo. No pun intended. Although in the BuzzFeed Unsolved video, it did say he was on his way home and he was stopped off at his mother and sister's house.
Okay. That makes
but in
sense.
this other article I read, it just said he went out. So it's like, why did he just go out? But the BuzzFeed Unsolved video said that he was at his mother's house.
That makes more sense.
Yes. So this guy was mistaken for the Hammersmith ghost on a number of occasions due to his clean white linen trousers, his white flannel waistcoat, white apron, and white shoes.
Except that he had like a face that wasn't see-through, right?
But he was white.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. This guy had been mistaken for the ghost a couple of times, and like one of the accounts was that a man driving a carriage saw Thomas walking about one night. And he said he like kind of yelled out, there goes the ghost. So Thomas turned on him and was like, hey, would you like a punch in the head? So
did he really say that, or did you make that up?
No, that's what he said.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's what I was told he said.
I'm gonna say that every time someone says something mean. Hey, would you like a punch in the head?
Because it's like, how do you respond to that? Like, no. No, thank you. But yeah, so he just like, he kind of seems to me like he's like this, like, I don't give a shit kind of guy. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, so this kind of said, like, his wife told him multiple times, put on a freaking coat. Like, you've been mistaken for the ghost in the past. I don't want you to die. Like, there's men out hunting for this ghost, and if you look like him, you've been mistaken for him, put on a freaking coat. Yeah. But this dude's like, no thanks. I'm going to wear what I'm going to wear, and I don't want to put on anything else. So anyways, and I never understood, why are you going to wear all white when you're doing a dirty job?
I don't know, like painters wear all white too. I don't get it.
So weird. I don't get it.
Maybe if anybody out there is a bricklayer or a painter, you can explain why they wear all white.
Maybe because like you can bleach it, but I don't know if bleach existed back then to the extent it does now.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, that's what I'm thinking, because I watched a TikTok about a girl that said to get your children all white stuff because it's easier to bleach.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So this dude was out walking around when the ghost was said to be walking around, and he was in his hallway. I think he was leaving his mom's house. So, recipe for disaster.
Right.
A customs officer named Francis Smith was growing tired of the village losers that weren't getting the job done in finding this ghost.
Fucking losers.
Francis Smith was only 29, which honestly, like, I thought he was older with how it described how fed up he was. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
He also prepped for this little stakeout by drinking in the local pub, allegedly.
This is all gonna be a really good ending.
Right? Okay. So, Francis saw Thomas walking and thought he was the ghost due to how he was dressed. Dedoit.
Right.
So, I think I just poked my dog in the eyeball. Sorry, Tad. He supposedly called out to him a couple of times and he got no answer. And the figure just kept walking towards him. And this night was said to be like very dark and gloomy. So it's like you couldn't really see across the street, and it was just like dark and gloomy. Not a great combination of anything.
Gotcha.
So he just, he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna open fire on this ghost. So he did. So he shot Thomas Millwood, and Thomas Millwood was no longer mistaken for the ghost ever again, because he did.
Imagine how pissed his wife was at him?
Right?
Like, I told you this was gonna happen, and now you're dead.
Exactly. It's like, stubborn ass old man not fucking listening to me. Like, frig, man. Hi, bud. So yeah, he shot him. Okay. And he died. So the coroner, and fun fact, the office of the coroner was established in 1194 in England.
Oh.
Early. So anyways, the coroner determined that Thomas had been killed by a single shot. And if you don't like gruesome stuff, skip ahead like 30 seconds. So he had been killed by a single shot, which entered through his mouth and out the back of his neck.
Oh.
Yes. So I'm assuming it was very quick and lethal, which is, like, at least he didn't suffer, hopefully, right?
Right. Especially back then with a gunshot, they could suffer for weeks on end before they died from it.
Oh, exactly. So, yeah, so that's how he died. Many witnesses stated that the night Thomas was shot and killed, again, it was very dark and gloomy, and there were hedges obscuring Francis's view. So it was just very hard to see, which, like, honestly, you shouldn't have shot anyways if it was hard to see. Like, it could have been anybody. Like, dumbass. Many witnesses stated, I already said that. Character witnesses stated that Francis was gentle and mild-mannered, and that it was likely not his intention to murder anybody.
Okay.
So the coroner deemed that this was a rash act of willful murder, so Francis was sent to trial. He admitted to killing Thomas, but he said it was mistaken identity and pled not guilty. And he also showed great remorse for what he had done, stating it wasn't his intention to kill. And his remorse showed too, as he had a hard time standing unassisted, and he had a hard time getting words out to make his defense. Which,
I mean, I understand feeling bad, but, like, if you just go shooting into the darkness, like, you have to be punished for that.
Exactly. And, like, it honestly kind of sounds like he was drunk to me at his trial. Because, like, you can't stand unassisted. You can't get words out. Like, that's either remorse or that's you're drunk. Because, I mean, he did drink before he shot this guy.
Yeah, and he may have been drinking to, like, soothe his conscience.
Yeah, exactly. So during his trial, the judge was extremely specific when he spoke to the jury. And he stated, quote, however disgusted the jury might feel in their own minds with the abominable person guilty of the misdemeanor of terrifying the neighborhood, still the prisoner had no right to construe such misdemeanor into a capital offense.
True.
Or to conclude that a man dressed in white was a ghost. In this case, there was a deliberate carrying of a loaded gun, which the prisoner concluded he was entitled to fire, but which he really wasn't. And he did fire it with a rashness which the law does not excuse. In all the circumstances of the case, no man is allowed to kill another rashly. Unquote.
Basically, it sounds like that was a really nice professional way of saying, like, this guy's a moron and he had no right to do this.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, he had literally no right to do this, whether it was a person pretending to be a ghost or not. So,
yeah.
Okay, so buckle up. The
Okay.
jury came back with a guilty
Mm-hmm.
manslaughter verdict.
Okay.
However, manslaughter was not one of the options.
Oh.
And the 3 judges that listened to the case deemed that there was no instance that could reduce this case from murder to manslaughter. And manslaughter is basically when the offender didn't intend to kill or harm the person.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't one of the options, so the jury shouldn't have chosen that option.
Well, and he intended to hurt or kill
Yeah.
whoever it was that was being the ghost.
Yeah. It's just unlucky for him, didn't end up being the person that was pretending to be the ghost.
Right.
Although to me, like it kind of seems like he didn't intend to specifically kill Thomas, but I mean, I guess he did intend to hurt whoever it was, as you said, but it's hard, especially with like these types of cases not being like very common. So
yeah.
So anyways, the jury was told to come back when they either agree to a guilty murder plea or a total acquittal.
Oh, wow.
And the judges made the case that Thomas Millwood did not attempt to run away. And even if he was the Hammersmith ghost, the ghost's actions didn't warrant a capital punishment, and it was essentially just a nuisance violation. Because he was only just like terrifying people. He wasn't like hurting anybody.
Yeah, like he's an asshole, but he doesn't deserve to die for it.
Exactly. So the jury came back with a guilty plea, and Francis Smith was sentenced to hang, and after he was hung, his body would be sent to a medical college for dissection and observation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Despite this, Francis demanded sympathy from the spectators at his trial, and the public grew so interested in his case that Lord Chief Baron informed that he would be reporting the case to the Crown because the final verdict actually rested with them. They came back with a respite during pleasure, which just basically means either a pardon from death or a reduced sentence at the pleasure of the Prince Regent.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So basically the king or whoever it was decided, okay, like the public's so interested in this, it's a weird case, he can be pardoned.
Okay. Lucky for him.
Yeah. So in just over 3 weeks, Francis received a pardon from the Crown, and on the condition that he was imprisoned for a year of hard labor.
Ooh, hard labor.
Yes. The publicity around this case caused a local Hammersmith shoemaker to come forward and admit to being the Hammersmith ghost.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So John Graham came forward as the ghost and said that he did it to get revenge on his apprentices because they told his children scary ghost stories.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Graham's admissions seemed to put the Hammersmith ghost to rest once and for all until 1824, when new reports of the ghost came around. But this time, it had the power of fire breathing.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Dragon ghost.
Exactly. And then the ghost was replaced by Spring-Heeled Jack in the 1830s. And I don't know who that is, but apparently they had like sharp claws like Wolverine or some shit. Like, I don't even know. Or Edward Scissorhands. And I think they could still breathe fire, but who knows? This specific case uncovered the very real issue of self-defense as a viable argument in court.
Okay.
And basically there's a lack of defense for someone who believes that their action, even violent action, is necessary and acts in good faith, but is mistaken about the situation. And this issue had the courts out of sorts until the case of R versus Williams in 1983. So over 100 years later.
Yeah, wow. But I don't think what he was doing was self-defense. I mean, the guy wasn't coming at him like to hurt, like it's not like he was in immediate danger.
He was walking towards him, so he feared for his safety.
I mean, I walk towards people every day. I don't want to get like
I know. But
I
think
feel like
it's
that's
because
a shaky case for self-defense, but
it is. But I think that he made the case and point that, like, hey, I was just defending myself. And obviously it wasn't, like, a good case. That's why they found him guilty. But, like, self-defense laws don't really come into place until much, much later. Like, almost 200 years later.
Yeah.
But based on this case, the judges finally clarified the law, stating that, quote, in a case of self-defense or the prevention of crime is concerned, if the jury came to the conclusion that the defendant believed or may have believed that he was being attacked or that a crime was being committed and that force was necessary to protect himself or to prevent the crime, then the prosecution have not provided their case. If unreasonable one... Oh, I skipped a line. If, however, the defendant's alleged belief was mistaken, and if the mistake was an unreasonable one, that may be a peaceful reason for coming to the conclusion that the belief was not honestly held and should be rejected. Even if the jury comes to the conclusion that the mistake was an unreasonable one, if the defendant may genuinely have been laboring under it, he is entitled to rely upon it. Unquote.
Okay.
So, I mean, at least they clarified the law.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a law that needs to be clarified.
Yeah, because honestly, I still feel like it's pretty shaky, so.
Yeah, I do as well.
Despite all of this, it's said that Thomas Millwood's ghost still lingers around the Hammersmith pub where his body was taken to after he was shot and killed.
So there wasn't a real ghost, but then the outcome was a ghost.
He became one. Yes. So, anyways, that is my story on the Hammersmith ghost and the murder case.
That was so fun.
Thanks. Wasn't it just like, it was just fascinating. Like,
yeah, it was a fun one.
Thank you.
Well, if you'd like more of us lovely ladies, you can check out our new website that Jessica's worked so hard on at historiesandmysteriespodcast.godaddysite.com, right?
Yes.
Yay. And that has all of our links to our social media. Our Jessica does blog posts every week with our new episodes and links to our episodes that you can listen to. And it has a whole suggestion comment area that you can send us comments and suggestions.
Yeah, and if you have like a suggestion for a story or a suggestion on how we can improve, you can also use that form and it comes directly to us. And if you want to rate and review us, like on Apple Podcast or something, or like even if you don't listen to us on Apple, if you have an Apple, if you could just please rate and review us on there, because I don't really know where else we can be reviewed, but it really helps us get recognized. So
yeah, the more reviews you have, the more that people can find you. So
exactly, and we really need help being found.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for everybody that listens and everybody that likes our posts and has sent us messages so far. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we do. We really, really do. So, everyone, I hope you have a great week, and we will be here next week with 2 brand new stories for you.
Bye.
Bye.